Hey guys, welcome to this 3-part mini-series on how to overcome the fear of speaking. What are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at how everyone can overcome the fear of speaking without making a fool of yourself, if that's something you're worried about. So how you can overcome the fear of speaking without making a fool of yourself, even if you're convinced that it won't work, and you've tried before, maybe many times, and failed. We're going to, even you, we're going to look at how you can overcome the fear of speaking, and we're going to do it in 3 simple parts. So there's 3 parts to this process, real simple. Number 1, we're going to understand and accept that the fear is not real. Then we're going to look at, where does the fear come from? We're going to look at the psychology and the physiology of fear. Where does it come from? And then number 3, once we know where it comes from, we're going to remove that root cause and then change the feelings of fear to feelings of confidence. All over 3 videos that match the steps. So part 1, the fear is not real. Part 2, or video 2, where does the fear come from? And then the 3rd and final video in the series, how do I change? How do I change? So it's easy. We're going to dig right in. We're going to start with this one, part 1, video 1, the fear is not real. First thing I think it's important to realize, though, is that if you're struggling with fear, don't beat yourself up. You're not alone. Most people are scared of speaking, or have some anxiety at least around speaking. A recent survey I saw, it's like over 3/4 of the population suffer from some kind of speaking anxiety. That's a lot of people when you think about it. And I think, well, almost everyone I meet or know, and I tell someone I'm a professional speaker, very often they'll say, oh my goodness, how do you even do that? Why would you want to do that? I can't imagine anything worse than wanting to do that. It's true, isn't it? And you may be thinking that. But that fear is actually, when you look at it, that fear of speaking, even though it's very popular, is very fragile, and we can expose it for what it is. We really can. That's what we're going to look at. Franklin D. Roosevelt said the only thing we have to fear actually is fear itself. So it's the fear that's the problem, not anything else. So the fear's not real, and I'm going to prove it to you. So first of all, imagine 2 people, Dave and Mary, meet in a coffee shop, and Dave's like, hi, Mary, and Mary's like, oh, hi, Dave, and they get on well, and they become friends, and they go out, and they become boyfriend and girlfriend. And one day, they're out walking, they're holding hands, they're walking down to their favorite coffee house, and a dog comes running towards them. What happens? Well, what you need to know about Mary is that Mary loves dogs. She's never met a dog she doesn't like. She grew up with dogs, loves dogs, and as far as she's concerned, they're great. Dave, completely the opposite. Dave was attacked by a dog when he was young, and so he hates dogs. He does everything he can to avoid them. He's never met a dog that he does like. So we've got these 2 different scenarios, Mary and Dave, 2 different people, and this one scenario, a dog running towards them. So what can we expect? This terrifying dog appears. What's Mary's response? She's like, oh, great, it's a dog. What's Dave's response? Oh, my goodness, it's a dog. So Mary's got a fun response. Dave's got a fear response. Who's right? Mary or Dave? Is Dave right? Is this dog actually terrifying and we need to get out of here? Or is Mary right? This dog is fun and let's play with it. They can't both be right, can they? They can't both be right. And in fact, we don't know, because we don't know anything about this particular dog. We don't know, whether it's fun or friendly. We don't know anything about it. And both of their responses are based on dogs that probably died years ago. So their baggage, their past experiences is telling them how to deal with this particular situation, and it's doing it through their feelings. So they can't both be right. In fact, fear is a fibber. Fear is a liar. So Lao Tzu said all those years ago, there's no illusion greater than fear. There's no illusion greater than fear. And we can see that it's lying, can't we? Because it can't be right. They can't both be right. And in fact, if there was more people, there's probably more responses than just those 2. So obviously it's not a reflection of reality. Why is it such a problem then? Well, it's a problem because what happens when we see something we fear? We avoid it. So fear leads to avoidance. If you're scared of snakes, you avoid snakes. If you're scared of dogs, then naturally you're going to avoid dogs. If you're scared of speaking, what do? You're going to avoid speaking, aren't you? So fear leads to avoidance. This is the big problem, really. Fear leads to avoidance. Now, actually, although we kind of vilify and we hate perhaps that feeling, and I used to struggled with panic attacks for years, and so I know that feeling of intense panic and terror in the body. But actually, so you kind of you dread it in that situation, but actually the body is amazing when you think about what it does in response to a threat. Let's say that you're walking through the Serengeti and you see a lion. Or actually, even if you just think you see a lion, interestingly, but what happens? You want your body to respond with this stress response, doesn't it? And it immobilizes all the energy that you have available, shutting down everything else that's non-essential to make it so that you're able to escape from this threat that's appeared right in front of you. Thank goodness this response has saved our lives, my life, your life, many people's lives. It's incredible what the body is able to do. Imagine it didn't do this. Imagine that you're in this situation, where you see a lion, but your body's response is like, well, I'm not really feeling it today. I need like a duvet day. I'm just going to take a day off. We've all had days like that, haven't we? There you are. You're like, I think I'm going to have to phone up sick. I just not feeling it. I can't face today. I can't face. Imagine your body has that response to this threat that's right in front of you. A lion's going to eat you, and you're like, no. Thank goodness it doesn't do this. Thank goodness it has this full-on response. Well, where does that come from? Well, you're not the first person to face a threat. That's why. This is Smilodon. Smilodon, better known as a saber-toothed tiger, lived from 2.5 million years ago, apparently up to about 10,000 years ago. And so, in fact, not just humans, but anything with a pulse has this fight or flight response. And so in a fraction of a second, before we even perceive the threat, our body responds. It's amazing. So we should be thankful for our bodies. But think about this question. When we're talking about lions and Smilodon, or maybe climbing Everest or swimming with sharks, what's real, the danger or the fear? Are they the same thing? Think about that. What's real, the danger or the fear? Pause the video if you need to and really think about this. What's real, the danger or the fear? And then think about speaking. What's real, the danger or the fear? Well, actually, the fear is never real. It's not a reflection of reality. It's an estimate. But with speaking, we know speaking is safe. Speaking is safe. No harm's going to come to you. Speaking is safe. Now, the fear still feels real. You still got the feelings. But we know that it's not a life or death situation. So it's safe to test it. It's safe to push it. It's safe to try and step forward into growth, which is the answer. Got to take action. So it's safe to do that with speaking. But if we believe the fear, then we make it a reality. So even though we know it's not real and we can analyze it, we can think about it logically together, if we believe it, we make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. We make it a reality. So what we believe has a huge bearing on how we live and what we do. I'll give you an example of that. Look at this. This is some incredible research that was done 10 or so years ago. They studied 30,000 adults over an 8-year period, and they asked them 2 simple questions. Number 1, how much stress are you experiencing? How much stress are you experiencing? And then number 2, do you believe that stress is harmful to your body? And then over the following years, they looked at the public death records to see who died and who survived. And they found that high stress led to a 43% increased risk of dying. Probably not surprising, really, isn't it? We would imagine that, wouldn't it? If you're suffering a really stressful year, then there's an increased chance of you dying. But what was surprising was that only applied to those who viewed stress as harmful. So the ones that didn't see stress as harmful, it didn't apply at all. It didn't make any difference. But for the ones that did see stress as harmful, then having a stressful year led to a big increased risk of them dying. And actually, those who believed they could cope with stress, they did better than everyone else, even those who suffered little to no stress, and they had suffered high stress. They still did better. They did better than everyone. So that attitude, what they believed, was so important. Life or death, literally. You may have seen this quote from Jim Rohn before. Don't wish life were easier. Wish you were better. I love that kind of attitude. Don't wish that you didn't have any problems. Just get better at dealing with problems. Well, when we're talking about stress, I think we can use the same attitude. Don't wish life was stress-free. Get better at dealing with stress. Get better at dealing with stress. That's what we need to do, because it's not so much the stress that's bad, it's how we think about it. And running from it, trying to avoid it, is worst of all. In fact, scientists would tell us now, there's lots of research to say that striving to find meaning in your life is healthier than trying to avoid problems. Even if striving to find meaning is stressful, it's healthier than trying to avoid problems as long as you believe you can deal with the stress. You can tackle the stress. So what have we seen in this video then? That the fear is not real. And it's very easy for us to see, particularly the fear of speaking. It's the easiest thing to see. It's not life or death situation. So it's safe to tackle it. But fear still holds us back. So we gotta realize that, everything we want, we're penned in. Our comfort zone is determined by fear, really, isn't it? There's fear that's holding us back, and everything we want is on the other side of that, outside of the comfort zone, in the growth zone. So we need to find a way to step forward into growth. And we can do that because speaking is a great way to build a business. In fact, getting better at speaking is getting better at life. So it's a great way to get better at life. And if fear is holding us back, we can tackle that fear because it's not real and we know that it's not dangerous anyway. Make sense? Simple, really. And so we'll look in the next one how we'll examine the physiology and the psychology of fear, where it comes from. But before we get to that, just have a look at these exercises. Just think about this, and you might want to spend some time thinking about these. How is fear holding you back? How is fear holding you back? What is it costing you by buying into fear, by not calling it on its nonsense? What is it costing you? Number two, if you didn't have the fear, what would you be doing? If you weren't afraid, what would you do? If you knew you wouldn't fail, what would you do? So what is it costing you, and what are you not doing, which you would do if you weren't afraid? And then specifically, how would your life be better? How would you benefit from this? If you tackle your fear of speaking, if you become a better speaker, then how would your life be better? And then, very importantly, for dealing with fear, number 4, who benefits? Who benefits? It's not just about you. Who benefits? So give those some thought. Give them as much thought as you need to. The more thought you give them, the better. And then when you're ready, I'll see you in the next video, video 2, where does the fear come from? Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. God bless.